We're talking teams and skiers and previewing our entire tournament season.
You mean you and Dave are? I don't know squat.
It's showtime. This is The Ski Show, the ultimate show ski podcast, and your one and only source for all things show skiing, bringing you news, knowledge, and interviews with the legends and stars of our sport. Here are your hosts, Matt Heilman and Adam Schaller.
Welcome to the Ski Show. We're hitting the middle of our 2024 season with today's fantastic conversation, our tournament season preview. We've done this a lot of ways in the past with regional reps, with kids, but this time we've got David Raisin joining us again. Hey, Dave.
Hey, guys. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, he and I are going to be, we've done a bunch of research. We've talked to a lot of team leaders. We're going to talk through each of the regions, the national tournaments, and individual X comps, who's thriving, who's not, what we might see this summer as the competition season heats up. This is going to be a fun one.
And today's sponsors are Swivulator, the swivel training device you must have to take your swivel skiing to the next level. Get yours at swivulator.com and by Flyman Skis, custom-made jump skis and featherboard swivel skis at affordable prices. Get yours at flymanskis.com.
We have a full conversation lined up today to preview so many regions and tournaments. We're actually going to skip our show ski trivia today. Adam, I'm sure you're crushed.
Well, I know I won't get it wrong, so great.
Yeah. Adam is going to walk us through the conversation today as we dive into preview a little bit about what we might expect this season. And we're going to talk about many of the unknowns. The beauty of the competition season is that you just don't know. But before that, Adam, I want to first say that our hearts go out to the Backwater Gamblers. One of their boat drivers, Keith Berger, passed away. And it was a tragic loss for his family and team. We want all the Backwater Gamblers and Keith's family who may be listening to this podcast to know that our thoughts and prayers go out to all of you. The show ski community is here for you.
Yes, we are. We're thinking of you and can't wait to see you all this summer. Before we dive in, let's do a couple of things first. Let's talk about the incredible Girl Power Clinic and the Swivulator.
Yeah, that Girls Power Clinic was awesome. I had the pleasure of driving swivel all day long. The clinic was run by 3 ladies and 3 separate disciplines. So Gabby Tash coached jump, Kaylee Kohler coached barefoot, and Bria Imsey coached swivel. There were 15 girls, 5 per group, and they rotated through the disciplines like every 2.5 hours. Absolutely amazing. They had huge interest. They turned some girls away because they could only have a max of 15. Super fun. Great to see all these girls crushing it. All kinds of people came to this clinic. There were a few Mad City girls, but Sarah Fedorowicz was there, Lily Roman, Ava Amin, Addie DeGraff. Like, it was so fun to see all these people together. They've had a ton of interest. I think they're going to do another one in August sometime, so that was cool.
Yeah, very cool. And they all got to experience the glory of Lake Monona.
Yeah.
So trying to find good water, and a lot of them came to our show the night before, so that was fun to see all them at a Mad City Ski Team show.
Yeah, it sure was. You heard me mention Bria's name, and we also mentioned the Swivulator as one of today's sponsors. Bria coaches with her Swivulator, and she uses her Swivulator regularly, and it's one of the reasons she's been one of the best on the planet for the last several years.
Yeah, that's right. The Swivulator is that swivel training device that you need. You can use it in the off season, use it before a set on the water, fix bad habits, and learn new tricks without falling over and over again. As Swivulator says, they are perfecting practice.
Get your Swivulator at swivulator.com. That's swivulator.com.
Okay, let's set up the season so far. Dave, talk to us a little bit about what's going on at Traxler Park. Here we are on the eve of what would have been the Merc invite, and that is no longer happening. So, Dave, why don't you kind of fill us in on what's going on?
Yeah, well, you guys know you're not too far away from us. Southern, South Central, even southeastern Wisconsin has just gotten dumped on for what is the better part of spring and now the beginning part of summer. We are currently at a river level of 9 feet, and our river doesn't even open up. This portion of the Rock River doesn't even open up to the public until 6.5 feet. So right now we're 2.5 feet above just being able to ski on it. We'll probably get lucky enough to get on it through an exemption, somewhere around 8 foot or so. And I think had the water maybe had dropped another foot down to that 8 foot level, still would have had to deal with currents, still would have had to deal with potentially some debris and some pretty tough conditions in terms of, bounce back water conditions. But we probably would have hosted the tournament. But just over the last week, you guys know we've gotten hit probably 2 or 3 different times with some thunderstorms, and for as much as it went down, it went right back up. So unfortunately, Mercury invite is been postponed, not being rescheduled. So there will be no Mercury invite tournament this year. And the next time we'll be competing against one another, we'll be at a state tournament in about 4 weeks from now.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of teams that have been dealing with weather, water. It's just been weird. A lot of shows and practices even lost due to thunderstorms. We had 2 practices this week that were roughed out. We literally did intros for 2 nights because we had 2-foot whitecaps, and you do the best to navigate it as you can. It's a bummer that some teams are off the water. It's kind of been a funky start to the season. Where, like Adam said, we're on the eve of what would have been the Mercury invite. Some of you may have been listening to this after. We're also on the eve of the Southern Regionals, which we're going to talk about in a little bit here. So.
Well, speaking of the Southern region, we're going to kind of do regions in order of when they compete. So we're going to start with the Southern region, which is this weekend, June 22nd and 23rd. Matt and Dave, why don't you kind of fill us in on what's going on in the Southern region, teams to look for?
Yeah, I mean, I think first and foremost, Cypress Gardens is probably the team to beat there due to their size. I mean, they have grown crazy over the last year or two. I talked to Joey O'Connor, and they've got a lot of talent, and they've got a lot of numbers. They have Ty and Bailey Hyatt. They've been super additions to the team, super helpful. Paul O'Connor is going to jump with Cal O'Connor. They've got a tandem jump they're going to do, so that's cool. They have names like Zane Schwenk and Otis Wilson and Keith St. Ange, Kevin Jack, Garrett Pruce, Aaron McLaughlin. They're going to have 24-ish or plus in ballet. Sherry Orloff. They got swivel talent. They've got numbers and talent, and I think they're probably the team to beat in the region.
Yeah, they're a team to contend with, aren't they? I mean, their barefoot starts act, listen to what you just said. They have Zane Schwenk, Otis Wilson, and Keith St. Ange in a barefoot starts act. Wow, crazy amount of talent. And now they're starting to get the numbers right as well to match all that individual talent. Ty and Bailey have put a ton of effort into growing the development team, and you can see the fruits of those labors. Obviously, not just Ty and Bailey, but all those veteran team members for a long time now have been putting a lot of time, Joey, Paul, into their development team, and all those young skiers are becoming really, really solid skiers as well. So they're going to be a force to compete with. Would love to see them come up for nationals, that's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll talk about that when we get to D1 Nationals, because we've got a little info on that. In the Southern region as well, this tournament, some of you are going to listen on, just prior to this, if you're catching us before the Southern region. Some may listen after. We'll see how this plays out. But Tampa's not giving up the title easily. I talked to a couple people there. They want to win. They don't have a show site yet. They've been hopping around, but they've got some talent and they've got some numbers. You got Trina Sardania, Eli Carson. Hunter Hansen is skiing with them. He actually skied at regionals last year. I chatted with him a little bit. He said that last year was the first amateur show he skied in, amateur tournament, since Nationals of 2003. But he committed to the family once the kids were involved that he was going to ski. And so he's skiing in Southern Regionals again with Tampa. So they're going to put out an ATB act that's probably 9 or 10, as big as Cypress Gardens and Sarasota would put out. They've got some stuff going on, and they're coming. They're playing to win. So it'll be interesting to see. I think, Cypress Gardens is probably the strong favorite there, if you had to guess, but Tampa's not going to roll over.
Yeah, and then of course you've got Carolina that's in the mix, and certainly Sarasota. From what I understand, Sarasota down on numbers a little bit, but again, have got some really good veteran talent on that team, like Nick Lyman, like Jack Lyman. Obviously, there's Robbins. So they're going to come. They're going to compete as hard as they can. They know that they don't have the numbers, but they always execute highly on the water. And then Carolina back in the mix again.
Yep, yeah, Liam and Hudson, and it'll be fun to see how this regional plays out. And good luck to everyone there this weekend.
Now, please understand that I still don't know squat, but I am going to tell you what everybody's theme is, only because our producer Brad did the research and found out what they were. Cypress Gardens doing country club theme. That should be fun. Tampa has a Christmas theme. Carolina, Night of the Museum. And Sarasota is Survivor. So those all sound fantastic. All right. Moving on to the next region that will be competing, and that will be July 13th through the 14th, which will be the Central region. Let's talk about the Central region.
Yeah, I was lucky enough to spend some time down with Wonder Lake for Danny and Lexi Hansen, Dan and Kim Hansen's daughters, their graduation party. And, what's really clear is they are putting more time and more preparation in this year as opposed to probably in comparison to the last 12, 15 years. And what I mean by that is they've already put a production on the water, script in hand, characters, a whole 9 yards, day one, the very, very first show, which is somewhat uncommon for Wonder Lake. And so they're really going at it. They know that that's where their biggest opportunity for improvement is. And then they've got numbers back this year. They're generating some interest. They're shooting for a 5-high, come potentially regionals as early as nationals. They've got the numbers back on ballet line. They were down there a little bit, mid-20s or whatnot. They think that there could be well over 30 this year. And so, and we all know, obviously, year after year, Wonder Lake has individual talent. Last year, 7-man back barefoot line, won Barefoot Award. They've got Blake Hartman rejoining the team from SeaWorld of Australia. You put that with Scott DePorter, Jason Rishling, all their young swivel talent, such as the Burners and Danny and Lexi. And, they're going to be a tough team to beat in the Central region. I would say that they're the prohibitive favorite going into Central regionals.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's their regional to win. And I think the other team's going to have a hard time catching them because they're just that strong this year. They're going to be a legit contender for nationals, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But the rest of this region is interesting because if, 4 or 5 teams out of the Central are going to qualify for nationals, who's next? And this region has seen some change. So Lake City had an awesome season last year, tons of energy. They have taken a little bit of a step back. They've lost some individual talent. They're kind of in that rebuild mode just a little bit. I talked to Caleb Patrick. They've got, a young core that's hungry to ski and learn. They're enjoying the process of getting better, but they are lacking some of the talent they had last year. So it'll be interesting to see where that goes. Lake City actually lost by 3 points at the City of Lakes tournament to Chippewa Lake. How's Chippewa going to be this year? They've got Paige Pashina. They came out in first place in the City of Lakes tournament. So is Chippewa going to be a contender to be second or third in this region? Backwater Gamblers, they've had their struggles the last couple of years. The team's gotten a little smaller. They've had undergone some change, and they're not the same caliber contending team they've been in the past. And our hope is that they can pull it together and rebound, through the tragic situation with Keith's passing. Hopefully that can galvanize the team. But they're not quite the same team they've been when they were a perennial top 5 national team.
Going back to Lake City, I just remembering what they did just 1 year ago. They literally went, correct me if I'm wrong, you're better on the stats, Matt. either last or second to last in 2022 nationals to fifth last year, I think.
They took top 5. They were 5th.
And obviously they hosted it. And that, I mean, huge deal, huge buildup. That was their year. They brought veteran skiers back, and that's tough to maintain. And so, you know, I would expect them to maybe take just a small step back, but it's also, to your point, that opportunity for younger skiers to step up, to organically grow that base. And yeah, we'll see what they can do. If they can go ahead and they can push Wonder Lake a little bit more than what even we may think.
Yep. The Loves Park Ski Broncs are wanting to have a good season because they're going to be hosting Division I Nationals, so you know that they want to gun for it and be there. The arch rivals have made it clear they would love to qualify for D1 Nationals. They want to finish in that top 3 or 4 in their region. They had a struggle bus at the City of Lakes. They had a couple issues. They had a penalty. They did not score the way they wanted, but the bones are there for their show. We'll see if they can pull it together come regionals. Silver Lake is there. So we'll see. It'll be an interesting region.
What'll be interesting, what I think is going to be most interesting is usually when we talk about central regionals, we talk maybe about 4 out of those 6 teams having interest in going to nationals. I'm hearing 6 teams committed to nationals this year, which obviously may take some slots away to other regions, namely Wisconsin region or whatnot.
Yep.
Like you said, something to keep an eye on.
Absolutely.
And the themes for Central Region, not quite sure the title of Wonder Lakes, but it's something with the kids take over, so that's cool. Chippewa is doing a wedding theme. Lake City's doing the adventures of Yogi and Boo Boo, which is just like saying that, Yogi and Boo Boo. Ski Broncs have a circus theme. Arch Rivals, Rivals Got Talent, Backwater Gamblers, Home Alone, and Silver Lake is doing a music festival. Now, regardless of the region, in every single region, you will see a slew of Flyman jump skis and featherboard swivel skis. They are on every dock in every tournament. More and more skiers are riding Flyman.
That's right, and these skis are made for skiers, by skiers. They're fully customizable. The jump skis are also now being made with honeycomb. You're going to want to get your hands on those.
Yeah, these skis are affordable, and the best in the game are riding them. Order yours today at flymanskis.com. That's flymanskis.com. All right, boys, now on to the region that is near and dear to our heart, the Wisconsin region, which the Wisconsin State Tournament will be happening July 18th through the 21st.
The granddaddy of them all.
Yeah, largest water ski tournament in the world.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's so much fun.
Yeah. Adam, what do you think? How's this? We'll ask you. Well, how do you think this is going to play out?
I mean, RAJ hasn't been on the water, so that's a challenge, right? We're about 2 inches away from the lake being closed for us. I would say, it's going to be probably still, regardless of that kind of water situation, Mad City and RAJ kind of battling out for the number 1 slot. But again, I don't know much about everybody else. I'm just
RAJ is the defending national champ, and they absolutely stomped everybody last year. Dave, have you guys had much change in your personnel? When you are on the water?
No, I wouldn't say so. We've lost a handful of support skiers. We went ahead and we gained a handful of support skiers. So I think we're probably at even par at this point in time. That being said, it's going to be a uphill battle, over the course of the next 4 weeks. We've had 2 shows. I don't see us having shows for potentially another 2 weeks. We have our Star Spangled event coming up next weekend, the weekend prior to July, quote unquote, July 4th weekend. We hope to maybe do some sort of exhibition, but we don't even know if we'll be allowed to do that at this point in time. We're skiing down at the Loves Park site on Sunday evenings. We're traveling to Burlington for ballet practices. We're traveling to Whitewater for swivel practices. So we are nomads at this point in time, and nobody should feel, obviously nobody is going to feel sorry for us or whatnot. But we're going to have to definitely come in with a strategy that is probably something that we haven't done in the past in terms of just making sure that the minimal time that we have on the water, we're able to execute what it is that we're putting out there, that our production is where it needs to be. One thing that we've always had the advantage of other teams, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, is we have Wednesday night and Sunday night shows. We are able to go ahead and repetitiously kind of hone in on that production just by having 2 shows per week, and that's worked very well for us. We no longer have that, at least as of right now. So we're gonna put the pedal to the metal and put the foot on the accelerator and do all we can do. But right now it's just trying to get some water time and trying to get together to build that synergy.
Well, you guys are doing Ghostbusters this year, and I think you guys feel like that's going to be a bigger, better production than you've had recently, putting a little more effort on the stage side of things.
Yeah, I think it's going to be different production than last year. A little bit more probably heavily produced. And Jason Lang, one of our co-show directors, has been working on this production for about 3 years now. He's super jazzed, super excited. We've got a lot of cool sound effects and pyrotechnics and different the Ghostbusters vehicles, all that kind of stuff. So all the production aspect is there. It's just fitting it all together and getting it in under that 60 minutes.
Yeah, and without the reps, that's hard. We're at that point right now, too, with our show, like knowing how long it's going to be and figuring that out. And, the last time you guys were maybe it's been more recent, but true nomads, and we were as well. Like, I remember 2008 vividly, where people were off the water almost everywhere due to high water. We were traveling up to Lake Wisconsin with barges, and it was, it was like do what you can to figure it out and get ready for a tournament. But this will be, so some of your veterans will have dealt with this, but this will be, new territory. It hasn't happened in a while where you guys have been off for a long stretch.
Yeah. And part of it's just, keeping that positive atmosphere, because what's everybody look forward to in the summertime? They look forward to getting done with work, heading down to ski practice, having a good time, late nights, going out for dinner after. Oh, that aspect is kind of gone a little bit. And so trying to go ahead and come up with different ways that we can still, have that camaraderie and that synergy, as opposed to just trying to find a place to skiing as hard as we can and then disbanding. So the show directors are doing a great job right now. They're super positive about it. The communication's good. It's just a matter of, like I said, getting through this little tough stretch. How about you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we've been in growth mode for like 3, 4, 5 years. We're now the show directors this year, Jack Heilman, Abby Kothi, Cody Jaworski. They're making no secret that we're playing to win. I mean, we always do to some extent, but we've been going through a growth phase. And now, actually this year, our numbers are going to be down a little. Comparatively, we're not going to get near the 30 in ballet. We're going to be more in the mid 20s. But we've traded some numbers for some talent. When you've got Derek Buckman and Carter Buckman, and then you add to that Cale Duquesne, he's absolutely crushing it this summer. He's been everywhere for us in our show and doing amazing things. You've got Matt Strode back from Skiing Pro for a few years. You got Gabby Tash. All of a sudden you've added this in, and then our homegrown talent that is thriving. So you got Jack Heilman, Parker Wong, Presley Cup, Brooklyn Wendricks, and they're all growing in their talent. It's fun to see it, see the talent level be where it is for us. So it'll be an interesting show. It's going to be, a little different in terms of seeing more skill on the water than we've had in the past and trying to focus on some of that. And we've got an awesome production. Again, it's a self-written theme. Adam's done a killer job. Adam, you can speak to this, but it's an 80s theme, and it is super fun. And Dave, I know you had a chance to see it last week, but I'll let Adam talk about the theme a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, last year we did a 50s theme, diner theme, all 50s era music, and this year we have leapfrog to the 80s. I mean, just think about all the 80s music, and we've got so much of it in the show. That right there just makes it a fun show with all that music, because everybody knows it, and it's fantastic. But the premise of the show is we were having a ski school. Okay, it started as a ski school, summer school for show skiers, teaching them how to put the show or the production into skiing. And we were looking for a name of the school and kind of took a poll on Facebook with our team and came up with the Rocky Beach Academy. If you've been to our site, you know why we call it the Rocky Beach. And then Yeah, that's it. Basically, you just think back to your 80s movies, right? High school 80s movies, Fast Times at Ridgemont High, Breakfast Club, Teen Wolf, Back to the Future. It's kind of that premise. So it's fun. Yeah, looking forward to putting this on at State.
So who's third in this region? Okay, so we can kind of go down the list. Typically, the Aquanuts have been in the running for state championships. They've won a couple in the last few years. They've been right there. They've won state and nationals in recent history, in recent times. The Nuts are down this year. Okay, what is that going to look like for them? I honestly don't know. I couldn't predict how are they going to compete for first and second? Are they going to fall way off? Ethan Schulda's not skiing. They're down on size and some skill with that. What are the Nuts going to look like, and how is that going to play into this region in Division One?
Yeah, chatting with they have a show committee this year. On that show committee is Justin Muschel, Lisa, very close friends of all of ours, Leslie Gunderson, Will Baisley. I mean, they've got a good
Kaylee,
group of
Eric
Kaylee,
Fouth.
Dan Borman, Eric Fouth. Yeah, I don't want to leave anybody out. I'm sure we are, but I mean,
Yeah.
you got a good core group of individuals, and they're smart, and so they are going to take what individual talent that they have left, and they're going to maximize it. And I don't want to share anything that obviously that they haven't already, but I think that they're still going to be competing because they've got 400-point acts sprinkled throughout their show year after year, and they're just going to go ahead and do more of it. With the
barefooting, the
Yep.
trick skiing, swivel. They got Maggie Kelly. They still got talent throughout that show, and so even if they lose a few bodies and a little bit of talent, to your point, like those names you named in that show committee, those are freaking smart people. You put a bunch of smart people in a room and say, let's figure this out. They're going to figure this out.
They are, and they know that they don't have the numbers. They're not going to have the numbers like they have in the past for pyramids, big acts. But that's nothing new to them. They've dealt with that in the past. So it's going to be a little bit more difficult because, they don't have that as much individual talent, but they're going to make it work somehow, some way.
Yep. Agree. It'll be fun to see them put it together. I'm actually excited for their show. I think it's going to be great. The rest of D1 is interesting. It's that wild card of who's going to qualify for D1 Nationals out of the Wisconsin region. Beaverland Muskies, they're doing the Great Gatsky. They've been kind of that middle of D1 state for several years. Are they going to stick there? Are they going to make a leap? The Web Footers, they were technically not scored at state last year. They did qualify for D1 Nationals. I expect them to probably be in the mix again. Shermalot, they're production heavy, which of late, which is great. They're doing 3001, a Space Odyssey, and they've got some talent and they've got some numbers, and so it'll be interesting to see if Shermalot can pull it together this year. They had a better year 2 years ago than they did last year. What does this year look like? Are they gonna take another step forward? It'll be interesting to see where they go with that.
Yeah, it's interesting with Shermalot too. They've always been stellar in barefoot, right? I mean, to their core. If they could get some calm water for once, it feels like every state tournament they're skiing in white cap, not white caps, but less than ideal situation. And then, I mean, to your point, look at their talent. They've got the Fedorowicz family skiing with them, who have just taken it to the next level in terms of their jumping. They've got Carter Llewellyn. They've got the Anderson boys that are ultimately doing their thing. I think they've got 8 trick skiers on their team that can invert. They've got a lot of individual talent, and they've got quite a bit of swivel talent too. So it'll be fun to watch them, see what steps they take.
Yep. Krivitz is in D1. They don't have Kale, but they've still got talent. They got Josie and Abby, and they're going to have a solid show. Waterbugs are back up to D1. They were D2 last year. They won D2 state. They took second at D2 Nationals. They're back up in D1 Wisconsin State. Browns Lake, they typically have solid numbers. Be curious to see what Browns Lake looks like this year. Got a solid crop of Wisconsin D1
Browns Lake is doing Ducks in Space. I'm assuming that's a play on Pigs in Space from the Muppets, but I'm not sure.
All right. Let's check that out. That'll be fun.
Sounds awesome.
D2 Wisconsin is fascinating to me because it's that middle kind of melting pot of teams. You've got some that have been there a while. And then you've got movement. So when you win a division in Wisconsin State, you move up. When you take last in that division, you move down. So in this division, Badgerland moved down to D2, and Southern Wakes United won D3. They moved up to D2. So now you got this different mix of teams. I spoke to Badgerland. They're doing Little Mermaid. They were distraught at having to move down to D2. They're really working hard to try and get back to being this iconic team they were when Paul Dross was the leader, and they're kind of coming to terms with their growth phase and what it's going to take to get back to being that staple in D1. And so they're really committed to trying to put a good show together and get back to D1. That's their hope, and that's their goals. The rest of this division is interesting. Shawano, if you've been following their social media, they've got size. 4.34 the other night, big ballet lines. They've got talented skiers. Shawano could be tough to beat in this division.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. I think they're probably from what I've seen, they're the favorites going into it.
Yeah.
Exactly what you said, because of the mix of the talent and the numbers all together. They're skiing strong for this early in the year. And they're hosting D2 Nationals.
Yeah, and so and we'll talk about that. I'm guessing they're going to want to go there, and they're primed for a big season. They've got a lot of reasons to be primed for a big season. So I think they've got that going on. Waterboard, the Water Walkers, they've been stronger year after year lately. The Central Wisconsin Water Walkers. Aqua skiers are always there. Talk to JT. He's hoping that they can take top three. He acknowledges that Shawano and probably the Water Walkers are a couple of the favorites in the division. They'd like to squeak into the top three. They think they're going to be a classic aqua skier show. They're doing the Pro Water Ski Tour is their theme, so that'll be fun.
Yeah, I mean, they've got some good stuff in their show. Obviously, comedy's always huge. They always have the audience, laughing. They're always in the contention for the comedy award. They've got a four-person back barefoot line, 3 of which are from the same family, I believe. Mm-hmm. Faith, Alexis, Dan, call out there. That is so cool.
That's amazing.
And then, to have Faith come back and to be skiing with the team, I mean, wow, what an addition there after, a long stint of skiing professionally, both at Legoland as well as SeaWorld Australia. So, yeah, I think they can make it interesting in that top 3 for sure.
D3 Wisconsin State, just talk about briefly, there's some good teams there, and that's always, in my opinion, it's who shows up that day. All these teams are very similar sized, similar ability. Who puts it together on game day? Is it the Plum Skeeters? Is it the Chain Skimmers? Is it the Badwater? Badwater has moved their way down. They didn't do as well last year as they would have liked. They're now in D3. Could they be the favorite to win D3 and move back up to D2? Be keeping our eyes on D3 Wisconsin State.
All right. A lot of ground to cover there. Big water ski tournament. The following weekend would be the Midwest region, so that's July 26 or 28. Let's talk about those teams.
Yeah, I think this top 3, at least as we see it, is really interesting. The River Rats, as you know, have been a contender of late. They've been winning their regional. They've taken 4th place at nationals 2 years in a row. They've been in the top 5. Amazing. Their production's been out of this world good. They've had talent and numbers, and they haven't always come to nationals, and they have been the last couple of years, and they've kind of maintained their position as a contender. They're playing to win again. They're probably not as big as a couple of other teams, but they're hanging their hat on their production. They have a killer production. I just saw some pictures today of their Madagascar theme, and they've got awesome props, backdrop, always funny. Donnie Phillips is an awesome announcer, and so they're hanging their hat on their production. They may not quite be as big or talented as a couple of other teams in the region, but they know how to put it together. They know how to execute. They know how to deliver on all the box scores, which is what tends to carry them. So they're definitely a favorite to win this, but they're going to have some pressure, aren't they, Dave?
Yeah, they are. I had the pleasure of chatting with both Dan and Melissa Laughlin from the Ski Otters. And I will say that I'm probably most excited to see the Ski Otters, how they do at Midwest, and then hopefully coming to Nationals. The reason being is the Ski Otters has not competed at Nationals since 2008. But anyway, they've set themselves on course for a 3-year goal, and they're well ahead of that mark. Last year, they wanted to go ahead. They wanted to start getting competitive, and they ended up going ahead and placing in the top 2 at Midwest, obviously edged out by Twin City. This year, they're ahead of schedule. They're going for that number 1 slot. And guys, I don't know if you've seen socials, but their numbers, I'm seeing 24 to 26 on ballet. I'm seeing a 4-3-4 ending pyramid that's done in a circle pattern, Matt.
Yep.
A 4-3-4 in a small circle pattern. Obviously, they've got a good talent from a jumping standpoint, swivel. They've got Caroline Grubbs on their team, who's one of the nation's premier swivel skiers. Evan Marcus is on that team. You've got the national doubles championship with Ryan Hoops and Sarah Yost. You've got the makings of a really, really competitive team, and they want to come down. They want to take top 2 for sure at Midwest, possibly knock Twin Cities off, and then make a statement and bust in the top 5 at Nationals.
Yeah, talking to Caroline yesterday, she says they may be at 32 in ballet when all is said and done. That's their potential. Massive. It'll be fun to see if they can put it together. And to your point, would love to see them come to Nationals, and we'll talk about D1 Nationals in a little bit here. The other team that's going to be fighting for the championship there is Little Crow, and they're growing again. And a couple people I've talked to think that they may be one of the larger teams in the region from a pure numbers skiing standpoint. They could have over 70 skiers, which would make them quite large. The question is, can they execute? Can they put it together on tournament day? They come from a super small site. Like if you've ever seen, Little Crow climbs their pyramids and they bail off the top because the boat has to shut down at the end of the show site. They literally can't climb down pyramids at their show site. But they've got numbers. They've got talent. They've been on this upward journey where they had some down years in kind of the 2010s after some thriving top 5s and national championship years. They had some down years, and now they're back on the uptick, and so it'll be fun to see what Little Crow does.
I love Little Crow's, just their story. New London Spicer, population 2,500 people, yet the community just embraces that team. That's what you do in the summer. You go ahead, you go to Little Crow shows. That's where you socialize. That's where the town goes. Kevin spoke with Kevin Feline earlier on in the year. They know that this year, regionals is out in Aberdeen. Aberdeen can be a little bit of a chippier site, a little bit maybe of a rough water site. So they're curtailing their show, a little bit less barefoot. He thinks that they're going to be ready for this year for both Aberdeen as well as down at Loves Park.
That'll be fun. If that's the top 3 in the region, that's going to be fun to see how that plays out. See who puts it together. The rest of this region is strong as well. Midwest region, we've mentioned before, is the second largest region in the NSSA behind Wisconsin. Second most teams, second most skiers. They're killing it. They're doing great in the Midwest. Hartwick Huskies, they went to Nationals last year. The Waterhawks went to D1 Nationals last year. Will those 2 teams be in the mix again? Aberdeen being at home, can they get into the mix? Now, they've lost some talent, but will Aberdeen put themselves in the mix? 5 seasons, we mentioned earlier a little bit. There's actually a Division 1 and a Division 2 in the Midwest regions, and 5 season still competes in Division II in the Midwest. They intend to continue to do that another year. They want to compete in D2 and they want to go defend their title at D2 Nationals. So they will not be competing in D1 with these other teams.
And just to round out the conversation from Midwest region, just a summary of themes, as you mentioned: River Rats, Radagaskar, Ski Otters, Otter Time Fitness, Little Crow, Ski Show Nationwide, which I think is kind of like an ESPN type theme, Hartwick, Scooby-Doo, Waterhawk Space Jam Trilogy, Aberdeen Top Gun, and 5 Seasons World of Spies. All right. That same weekend as the Midwest region, the Eastern region will be competing July 27th through the 28th. Let's talk a little bit about the Eastern region.
Yeah, the East is always interesting. Last year they did not have a regional. They had water issues, weather issues there, and did not have a regional. This year I would say main attraction is the clear favorite. They're doing a yacht club theme. They have Pete Hegarty and Darian LeBlanc spending the summer back home with Pete's family, and we'll be skiing with them. Adding that talent to an already probably favorite main team in that region is going to make them the clear favorite. The other really strong team in the region, the Aqua Riders of Holland, are actually not competing this year. And then the other teams will be kind of fighting it out. Lake Mohawk, the U.S. Water Ski Show Team, Oxbow. So I think it's, as we said, it's Maine's regional to lose. I think Maine is going to have a strong show. I don't think they're going to come to nationals, but they're going to probably send some individuals, most certainly, to nationals.
Going to be really fun to watch what Maine does with that new twin rig of theirs. First time ever that they have a twin rig, an outboard, twin outboard engine motor. Traditionally, just an inboard show, partly due to the depth of the water and whatnot, but obviously they've maxed out what they can do with those inboards, and so I would expect bigger ballet lines, bigger pyramids, and it'll be fun to watch.
All right, all this talk of regional tournaments. Obviously, the regional tournaments qualify you for the national tournament. Let's talk first about D2 Nationals, which will be held August 2nd through the 4th in Shawano this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, well, Matt, you kind of set that up, boy. I mean, Shawano's hosting it. They're looking really, really strong. They're in D2, so most likely they won't qualify for D1 because there's a lot of interest from the D1 Wisconsin teams. And then you got 5 Seasons, who had a remarkable show. I think they just edged out Muskego last year at D2 by like 3 points maybe or something like that. And to come back then and then to go to Shawano's site to defend their D2 championship, I mean, I'm interested. I'd go. I want to see it.
And the D2 Nationals, historically, when it's been held in northern Wisconsin, more teams participate. So we could see 8, 10, 12, 14 teams compete at D2 Nationals this year, making that more competitive. Because D2 Nationals tends to be, that region, that tournament where there's a lot of like size and talented teams. And so it'll be fun to see who all goes, who all competes, and who can stand out. I think, like you said, Shawano and 5 Seasons will be there. Will some of the lower Division I Wisconsin teams attend D2 Nationals? It'll be fun to see who competes and how that plays out.
Matt, little off topic. I'm just going to pose a question to
Yeah.
you. What would you expect in terms of team participation at D2 Nationals, given that it is in northern Wisconsin? Successful attendance.
Double digits. 10
Has
10,
to be double digits.
10 plus. Yep.
10 plus. Okay.
Yep.
All right. Moving on to Division I Nationals, which will be held the following weekend after D2, August 9th through 11th. It's not held at Rockford, Dave. It's held at Loves Park.
Hey, I've said nothing but Loves Park. Yeah, you know my flaws. Shows how old I am. Yeah, back in Loves Park. Number one, their site, went down there. I work in Rockford, FYI.
Okay.
But I went down to Loves Park, checked out the site. The renovations, beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. Hats off to the Ski Bronx and to the city of Loves Park for collaborating on that. Really, really cool with what they've done. I think that it's going to be interesting. Obviously, you know, we're defending national champions. Again, not to rehash, it's all going to be based on the amount of water time that we get. I'm hoping, regardless of what happens with the state tournament and our preparation up into the state, that certainly we'll be well past that. We'll be on the water. We'll be able to go ahead and get our skiing legs under us and perfect that production that we're really looking forward to seeing. So there's guys. I mean, we're going to rely all year long on our veterans, whether that's Jerry or Kathy, whether that's Grace, Aragorn, whether that's Cody, Kayla, Ginny, myself. I mean, Jamie Cumline. We've got a stable of veterans that, given the situation that we're in, we're just going to go ahead and rely on that. And then we've got, as with everybody, a group of young talent that is coming along, like Owen Pittenger, Brian Rothmuller's single ski skills are coming along unbelievably. That we can definitely make it happen. We just need a little bit of opportunity to get on the water to make it happen.
I'd expect your stage work and introductions and dances to be flawless with all this time off the water, right?
They're going to look just as good as they do every year.
Yep. I think if Vegas Sportsbook were to handicap, to put odds on this year's Nationals, Rock Aqua Jays would probably be the top favorite. They'd be the betting favorite for this.
I disagree.
You don't think the sports books would have you guys as number one right now?
I think that the sports books would go ahead and take into account the current situation. And given that 1/3 of our season is gone and we haven't hit the water yet, I think that they would go ahead and they would. I like playing the underdog role a little bit here.
Yeah,
and I think that they would go ahead and I think they would say, look at all the talent that Mad City has on their team now. Wow, a lot of pressure on Mad City to come forward, to use that talent wisely, to put it on the water, to execute, and to really, ultimately try to take that first place finish away from the Rock Aqua Jays.
Dave, you are on the wrong team if you like being the underdog.
Yeah, it's hard to get that mentality there. But, okay, so you got RAJ, Mad City, Wonder Lake, who we talked about. I think those three teams are going to be in the mix, right? On any given day, who knows how much water time people will have, what the conditions will be like. Loves Park, the last two Nationals, has been less than stellar from a current weather, water condition standpoint. That could be anyone's ball game. What's interesting to me is who else is going to be top five? If we think those three teams are at least going to be top five and contending, historically speaking, and Adam, as you know, I've got a spreadsheet of these things of finishes at Nationals and people's average placement at Nationals.
Of course, why wouldn't you?
Your historical top five for a long stretch was, some order of Aqua Jays, Aqua Nuts, Wonder Lake, Mad City, Backwater Gamblers. Those five were your kind of perennial top five. Other teams would sneak in here and there. Now, the last couple of years, River Rats, top five both years. Lake City, top five last year. This year, I think we're going to see potentially more shakeup. Are the Aqua Nuts going to be a contender for the top five and for a national crown? Is Lake City going to maintain their energy or take a step back? Who else is going to sneak in there? Is it going to be a couple of Midwest teams? River Rats, Ski Otters, Little Crow. Could one or two or three of those teams sneak into the top five? I think that's fascinating to talk about.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
Yeah.
For sure. 100%. I mean, I got excited just listening to you talk about that. Like you said, the shakeup. It's going to be interesting.
It's great for the sport. And you know what, who could shake this up, but they're not going to. I mentioned we would talk about this at Cypress Gardens. So they've talked about it in and among their team about coming to Nationals. And they've got a big enough, good enough, strong enough team. They would come up and contend for a top five at Nationals, in my belief. Mm-hmm. They're about 50-50, 60-40 split on whether to come to nationals or not. They took a straw poll of their team. They're split on it. It takes a lot of planning and preparation to do it with, 2 months to say, oh, we got an awesome team. Could we go to nationals? It's short notice. I get it. The other thing that I talked to Joey O'Connor about that's a hiccup that's hard for them, and maybe our sport needs to address it in a bigger picture at some point, is D1 Nationals is after they start their first day of school in the South. Their kids are already back to school. So Cypress Gardens, Tampa, Sarasota, kids and family, they're back in school before our Division I National. So it makes it tough for them to travel up, miss the first week of school to come to D1 Nationals. But it would be fun if Cypress Gardens would. I don't think they will, and I don't think they will next year, right, Dave?
Yeah, next year they're hosting D2 down in Winter Haven. So one would expect that they would ski in their own, tournament in which they host. It's an interesting paradigm that you bring up, though, because and I agree. I think it's something that we should take a look at from an NSSA perspective. Nationals is the pinnacle every year of the sport, but it would ultimately potentially shift everybody else, because what that would then do is Midwest and East are our last regional tournaments. That would then give them back-to-back weeks, because traditionally speaking, when they end their regional, they've got 2 weeks then to prepare, travel to the national tournament. That would mean that the next weekend that they would be competing at a national tournament after their regional tournament.
And even right now, the way the schedule is, just for people listening, like one of the reasons the schedule is built the way it is for officials. We can't do all the regional tournaments on the same weekend, because we don't have enough officials to go around. So these officials are superheroes in traveling to all of these tournaments. There's a core bunch that travels and officiates all of these tournaments. And so you gotta, if you move them all up, you gotta move them all up, and then all of a sudden the first one, the Southern, they're okay, they're on the water earlier in the spring, but then you get to Central Regional, and they're already right after the 4th of July. You can't put them 4th of July weekend. Right. That wouldn't be why. So it just becomes an interesting puzzle to try and put together, but it's worth a conversation. Yep.
You
guys got any Skip or Willa predictions for D1 Nationals?
We've got a lot of who's both on the male side as well as the female side, and so I think the ladies, it's going to be who are ultimately at the tip of your tongue right now. It's the Grace Petzolds, it's the Bria Imsies, it's the Kaylee Kohlers. It's obviously turning more into that multi-dimensional female skier that's able to barefoot, that's able to jump, that's able to swivel. And also, if possible, doubles. If you can go ahead and you can do all 4 of those things, boy, you're checking all the boxes as opposed to 2 out of the 4 or even 3 out of the 4. So and certainly there's more out there. Paige Pashina from Chippewa. There's many more out there, but it's no longer the most, obviously, and it hasn't been for a while, the standout swivel skier. It's the multi-dimensional, multifaceted female skier, and there's quite a few out there. Sarah Fedorowicz, Josie Smearcheck.
Yeah.
I mean,
their team's got to qualify for nationals for those girls to be in the mix. Sarah was at this girl power clinic, and you saw the Fedorowicz pinwheel. She's doing a gainer next to her brothers on the ramp. Like, unbelievable. Her swiveling's come a long way. Josie last year just knocked it out of the park. She's killing it. Both Josie and Sarah are making one ski fronts. Like, the talent is there. It'll be fun to see who makes it happen. You often see these standouts. To your point, the all-around performance, that's what helped Derek Buckman last year. He didn't just jump. He barefooted. He did doubles. He did prefabs. He did a lot of stuff on the way there. There's a lot of male talent, right? I mean, and again, some of the usual suspects, but that will be fun to see. I think Cale Duquesne could find himself in the mix this year, depending on what kind of show he has. There's a lot of talented dudes, and again, part of it is which teams are going to come to nationals and who's going to compete. There's going to be people out of the Midwest region that have an opportunity to win Skip and Willa. Will they make it? Will they come?
Yeah, and Skip is very an interesting award. And just to pull back the curtains on that a little bit, for those who aren't aware of this, Skip Gilkerson, I had several conversations with Skip, and it doesn't matter how difficult, how many acts you're in, how difficult of maneuvers you're doing, if you don't execute it, if you fall one time, you are off Skip's list.
Yep.
And so you could have been somebody that was in 9 out of 13 acts and doing more difficult maneuvers as to in comparison to whoever was potentially in number 2 or Saturday's male selection, because they always choose a Saturday and a Sunday selection. If you don't make all your acts, you're out of it. And so from a guy's standpoint, there's a little, all these guys are aspiring to win that Skip Gilkerson Award. It's the pinnacle of individual awards for males, and Willa for females as well. But you need to go ahead and balance between, showing your skill set and maximizing your talent, and then dialing it back and keeping it clean.
Yeah, that's funny you say that, because you're exactly right. I think there's only been one year in the last several where kind of all the top contenders had one fall and somebody won Skip with a fall, but otherwise it doesn't happen. Derek knew that last year. We talked about it as he, he had a goal. He wanted to win Skip, and he did enough in our show to do it, but he had a couple scary moments. He had a moment on one of the jumps where he landed basically on his side and saved it and popped up, and he knew that was the moment. I can't fall if I want to win Skip, and right. What a stud he was. And so which guy is going to be that stud this year? And some of the same guys. Derek will be in the mix. Cody Coffey will be in the mix again, and some of these same names will be fun to see.
It will be.
Now, speaking of individuals and Division I Nationals, this is a big year for individual competition because Nationals this year at D1 is a qualifier for Worlds in Australia in March of 25.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's start with, first of all, let me talk about that a little bit. So, there's a whole selection criteria for Worlds. And so from the United States is determined that our qualifier for Worlds is D1 Nationals individuals. And so there will be in doubles, swivel, and freestyle jump, there will be a maximum of 5 USA performers at Worlds. The process is set up that no more than 5 per country. Could be less than that depending on how many countries send participants. So that makes it really competitive for those 5 spots. Doubles, is anyone going to challenge Ryan Hoops and Sarah Yost and Corey Krivitz and Kim Stoner? Corey and Kim won 10 in a row until last year. Hoops and Yost won for the first time. It's the first time Corey and Kim didn't win. I expect Corey and Kim to be right back on top of their game. Can anyone even challenge those two right now? I don't know. I mean, there's going to be others that are going to be in the mix and working toward a Worlds qualification, but I don't know if anyone could beat those two in doubles.
How about swivel? I mean, talk about a field that is absolutely loaded.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, just go down the list of names, holy smokes.
Yeah, if you look at even from last year's Nationals and look at the names this year, Bria, Caroline, Darian, Paige, Josie, Maddie Hageman, up-and-comers, Maggie Kelly, Allie Crumry, Grace Petzold. That's 8, 9, 10 names I probably listed there that are all going to be in the mix. And only 5 of those girls are going to compete at Worlds. The swivel talent is absolutely insane. And that's going to be fun. That's going to be competitive. And they're all great friends. They all get along together. They all love to swivel together and hang out. That's going to be a fun one.
I think it's going to be interesting how they separate themselves, right? Because, swivel has taken such an evolution over the course of the last number of years. And there's a lot of spinning going on, and which is awesome. I mean, 1080s, 14s, it's amazing. But I think what each of the ladies have got to challenge themselves with is how do they separate themselves from an artistry standpoint, from a technique standpoint, from a line standpoint, because everybody's spinning right now. So, which is fantastic. The level of competition has gone up, but I know one thing: USA is definitely going to field 5. Given that list of swivelers that you just made mention of, and there's probably more. The USA is going to definitely send 5 swivelers over. That's going to compete in Australia. It's just going to be who, and it's going to be who steps up. And I love World Years because I can feel that competitive atmosphere and that tension. And I think it's great for the sport.
Yep, absolutely.
Now, is there also swivel pairs at Worlds or no?
Not at Worlds.
No. Okay.
No, but at D1 Nationals there'll be pairs. Paige and Bria have won the last couple. Grace and Kayla Coffey will be a standout duo. Josie Smearcheck and Abby Langer. There's more and more girls competing in pairs. It's just a fun event. I think the girls love doing it, and it's fun to see something outside the traditional individual swivel.
And then we got Team Jump. Catfish Bay won last year. Be interesting to see how some of these big teams stack up this year, like Mad City. Rock Aqua, well, if I had anything to say about it, Mad City wouldn't compete, but that's my own thing. Rock Aqua J's Badwater.
It's predicting that. I think Matt and I've talked about this before. Just play roulette in Vegas. I mean, it's a crapshoot. There's more ego and testosterone down on that jump deck going on in terms of, what are you doing, and oohing and on and jabbing one another and playing head game. I mean, it's all in fun. It's great, but I mean, it's I think, to be honest with you, it's more about the camaraderie, and to then see a team like Catfish Bay with nothing but 17 and 18-year-olds last year win it. I think every single team loved that. So it'll be really fun to see them come back. I'm hoping that they defend their championship this year. I think they had 1 boat, 5-6 guys, ultimately maybe 2. And see if their skills have developed a little bit more and see if they can crush it again.
I mean, can you imagine the conversations on our team with the opinions of Jack, Derek, Carter? Here, we should do this, we should do that, let's send this, I know we can make that. It's a matter of putting together, do you want to, and with Team Jump sometimes do you want to send some stuff for fun, or do you want to put together a jump act that's going to execute and win? And more often than not, I think Team Jump errs on the let's send it side. So it'll be interesting to see.
Who are those guys on your? Is that the group that thinks that they can pretty much just throw it out there and we can do it? Who are the guys that have no fear on Mad City in terms of composing a jump act?
Anybody that owns a pair of jump skis, really.
Yeah, I mean, they're
well. Jamie Cumline is our guy.
We can do it.
Jamie Cumline. There's no jump that's ever been talked about that can't be done somehow, some way. So Jamie is our guy that we're kind of trying to exhaust the flames.
That's
out
funny.
Yep.
Funny.
Yep.
Good stuff. Badwater, Water Bugs with Craig and Noah. Cypress Gardens is bringing up a jump team.
Nice.
So
cool.
We'll see what happens with that.
I'd be interested to know, hearing you guys talk about this and what's going on in the jump dock. How many of these jump teams come into nationals with a jump set list, right? We're going to do this, this, and this jump. And how many of those actually stick to that list? Does it change 5 minutes before they go out? Oh, so-and-so team just did this, so we need to do. I'd be interested.
No, I don't think anyone's changing on the fly based on seeing another team. But it's possible that morning or midday, the jump act is getting finalized and communicated to the boat drivers and announcer minutes before the act hits the water.
Yeah.
Or the practice before nationals, we made it.
Yeah.
We're ready. Let's do it.
We're sending it.
Yep. We're sending it.
We are 1 for 10, and it's great.
Roulette.
All right. Freestyle jump individuals. Talk about another loaded field. I mean,
yeah, this is gonna be a tough one. There's a ton of talent out there. We'll go to the prohibitive favorite. That's Pete Hegarty. And Pete, being the national champion from last year, he's got a decisive advantage because he can sit on the jump dock and he can watch what everyone else does. And so not only, is he probably the most skilled and has the greatest arsenal of tricks, most tricks in his bag, but he can go ahead and determine what he wants to throw based on the execution of everybody else. So that's a huge advantage. And then aside from that, obviously, I don't want to just shortcut that. Pete right now going ahead and doing his one ski front long distance. He's got his mob. He's got his one ski back half, which he's almost hitting ball on, if not going past ball on now. His one ski front half. He's got, what is it, Matt, the rewind that he's got, and he's trying to perfect. I mean, he's got the most tricks right now. And then
what's a rewind?
Heli, and then rewind it back 180 and land backwards.
So you spin
one
way.
He does a full 360, and then you spin back halfway the other way.
You have to literally stop your rotation, and then go ahead and turn it back the other direction. So, and you have guys like Liam Klotzbach, obviously, who I think personally the fan favorite, right? Everybody holds their breath, everybody oohs and ahs because there is a ball associated with Liam called the bird ball, and that's awesome at Buck Up. Cale Duquesne is now just nailing his one ski back half. Saw some great footage that he sent me and sent Matt in regards to that. He's honing in on that, so he could definitely push Pete, provided he does the right tricks. And if Pete, may not hit ball or may not execute the way that he would normally want to execute. Who else, man? Who else we got?
Yeah, I mean Derek Carter. Carter's made some back halves this summer, but now he's dinged up. Been taking it easy on his shoulder, so we'll see if he can get back on it at some point this summer. But and Carter can do a massive one ski gainer, and then if he can make a back half, that becomes interesting. Derek will get back to back halves, and he hit ball on his one ski front at the last Buck Up. I don't know that
guys like Hudson, what's
100%.
Hudson bringing?
Eli Carson's making one ski mobs. Yep. Will he come up? It's going to be fun. And to your point, we talked about it on the last podcast. Going off the dock last is an advantage because Pete didn't have that advantage at the first Buck Up, and it hurt him. But now knowing at nationals, being able to watch all the other guys and knowing what he needs is going to be a huge advantage for him. But these guys all want to make top 4 or 5 and qualify for Worlds. So again, competitive freestyle to get into Worlds.
All right, let's wrap this up. So we're expecting D2 Nationals probably to be a good turnout this year. Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask both of you, who's your pick for D2? Who's going to walk away with D2 National title?
I'm going to say 5 Seasons is going to defend their title.
I'm going to say Shawano is going to have a lot of energy hosting it. Hometown crowd. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go with Shawano.
All right. Same question for D1. Who's your pick?
The Rock Aqua Jays are the betting favorite in Vegas, and Mad City is the underdog.
And Dave's going to say exactly the opposite.
I'm going to say the opposite. But that being said, I'll never bet against my own team, right? And I know Matt would never, and Adam would never bet against their team. So regardless, it's going to be a great competition. And anybody can have an off day. Anybody can ski their show of the year, and anybody can go ahead and overtake Mad City or RHA if there's a bobble or if we're not where we need to be come that time of year.
Thanks, Dave, for being so politically correct. And last question, who's the up-and-coming team to watch this year? Who's the team?
Otters. Ski Otters, yep. For sure. Yep.
Well, there you have it, folks. Dave, thank you for joining us today and sharing with us your wealth of knowledge on show skiing.
Yep, appreciate it. Thank you to our sponsors today. Swivulator, the practice swivel training device that you need. Get yours at swivulator.com. And Flyman skis, your honeycomb jump skis, your featherboard swivel skis. Find those at flymanskis.com.
Our next episode will be coming out on July 10th. That's July 10th. Thanks again to all our listeners. This is Matt and Adam and Dave, and this is The Ski Show.
Thank you for listening to The Ski Show, the ultimate show ski podcast with Matt and Adam. If you have questions or ideas for the show, find us on social media or message us at theskishowpodcast@gmail.com.